The alien girl stood at the edge of the human outpost perimeter, her skin a kaleidoscope of shifting blues and greens. It was her first solo exploration outside her village, and though she was curious about the human settlers, she also felt a deep unease. Her kind had long avoided this region, fearing the unpredictable creatures brought from Earth. But today, her curiosity had won out over her instincts. And then she saw it. A towering, four-legged creature emerged from the brush, its jaws gaping in what she assumed was a predatory grin. It made a low, guttural noise, and its enormous tongue lolled out of its mouth like it was tasting the air. She froze, her skin flashing an alarmed red as she struggled to keep her balance on her spindly legs. "What in the stars' name is that monster?" she blurted out, her voice trembling as her bioluminescent glow turned a panicked yellow. "That's my dog," the human replied, his tone casual as though this hulking beast were no more threatening than a flower. He held a thin strap connected to the creature's neck, a gesture she assumed was some form of control. The human, dressed in dusty expedition gear, seemed wholly unbothered by the abomination at his side. If anything, he looked amused. "Your dog?" she repeated, struggling with the unfamiliar word. Her eyes darted between the human and the creature, trying to make sense of the situation. "It has too many teeth. And why is it looking at me like that?" The man chuckled, his grin wide beneath a scruffy beard. "Don't worry, he's harmless. Well, mostly. Rex here just thinks you're interesting." "Interesting?" she squeaked. The dog, Rex apparently, tilted its head, its floppy ears perking up as if it understood her confusion. Then it took a step forward, and she scrambled backwards so quickly that her webbed feet tangled beneath her. She landed with an undignified thump, her skin glowing a vivid orange of embarrassment. "Easy, Rex," the human said, tightening his grip on the strap. The dog stopped immediately, its tail wagging in a slow, lazy rhythm that the alien girl couldn't decipher. Was it preparing to pounce? Was the tail some kind of weapon? Her mind raced through a dozen scenarios, none of them pleasant. "Why would you keep such a creature near you?" she demanded, pointing an accusatory finger at the human. "Do you not value your own safety?" The man crouched down to her level, his expression softening. "Rex isn't a monster. He's my friend. Humans and dogs go way back, thousands of years, in fact. We've been partners, protectors, and family to each other." She stared at him, utterly baffled. "Family? That thing is your family? It looks like it could eat you in one bite." He laughed again, a hearty sound that seemed to put even the dog at ease. Rex sat down, his massive frame somehow managing to look both imposing and ridiculous as he drooled onto the dirt. "I get it. He's a little intimidating if you're not used to him. But trust me, there's no one more loyal than a dog." Her skin shifted to a pale green of skepticism. "I find that hard to believe. Where I come from, creatures with sharp teeth and powerful jaws are not loyal. They are hungry." "Well," the man said, scratching the back of his neck, "I suppose that's fair. But dogs are different. They're not just animals to us. They're companions. Here, watch this." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, round object. "Rex, sit." The dog obeyed instantly, lowering its bulk onto the ground with surprising grace. The human tossed the object, a treat, she realized, into the air, and Rex caught it with a snap of his jaws. The alien girl flinched, her skin flickering yellow again, but she couldn't deny the precision of the movement. The creature had obeyed the human without hesitation. "See?" the man said, grinning. "He listens. He's trained." She eyed the dog warily. "You control it with food?" "Not exactly," he replied. "The food's just a reward. It's about trust. Rex trusts me to take care of him, and I trust him to have my back." The girl tilted her head, her bioluminescent glow shifting to a contemplative purple. "Trust with a predator. That is a strange concept." The dog let out a sudden, sharp bark, and she yelped in response, her skin flaring red again. Rex wagged his tail faster, clearly mistaking her reaction for playfulness. The man reached out to calm the dog, rubbing its head with an affection that seemed absurd given the size of its teeth. "Don't mind him," the man said. "He's just excited to meet you." Excited? Is that what you call it when it makes those terrifying noises? She stayed firmly on the ground, her limbs tucked close to her body in case she needed to flee. Yup, the man said cheerfully. To him, you're like, I don't know, a shiny new toy. Her skin turned indignant yellow. I'm not a toy. He held up his hands in mock surrender. Poor choice of words. Let's just say he's curious. Same as you. She hesitated, her gaze shifting back to the dog. Rex was no longer staring at her like a potential meal. Instead, he seemed happy. The rhythmic wag of his tail, the soft panting, the way he leaned into the human's touch, it all spoke of something she couldn't quite define. Could a creature so fearsome truly be harmless? I don't know if I can believe you, she admitted, her skin dulling to a muted green. But I would like to understand. The man's grin widened. That's the spirit. You're braver than most people I know. Bravery has nothing to do with it, she muttered. It's curiosity. Curiosity's a good start, he said, standing and offering her a hand. She hesitated before taking it, her long fingers trembling slightly as he helped her to her feet. Rex wagged his tail harder, his tongue lolling out again in what she now recognized as a strange sort of smile. As they stood there, an odd but not unpleasant silence settled over the trio. For the first time, the alien girl felt a flicker of something other than fear when she looked at the dog. She wasn't ready to trust it. Not yet. But perhaps, she thought, there was more to this monster than met the eye. Well, the man said, breaking the silence. How about we take this one step at a time? No rush. She nodded slowly, her glow shifting to a tentative blue. One step. No promises. That's fair, he said, giving Rex a pat. Come on, buddy. Let's not scare her too much on day one. The dog barked again, but this time the sound didn't send her scrambling. Instead, it sparked the faintest hint of amusement, just enough to make her wonder what other surprises these humans and their monsters might hold. The alien girl found herself standing a cautious few paces behind the human and his dog as they walked along the path. Every time the dog's tail swayed too far in her direction, she tensed. The human, sensing her unease, glanced back with an easy grin. Relax. Rex doesn't bite unless you're a ball or a sandwich. He paused, his expression turning mock serious. You're not a sandwich, are you? Her skin flickered indignant orange. I'm most certainly not a sandwich. Good. Then you're safe. He winked and gave Rex a playful scratch behind the ears. The dog huffed contentedly and trotted ahead, tongue flopping out the side of his mouth. Curiosity gnawed at her. She couldn't understand how the human remained so calm around such a ferocious-looking beast. You said your kind has lived with these dogs for thousands of years. How did that begin? He stopped, turning to face her. Well, back in ancient times, humans and wild dogs, wolves, actually shared hunting grounds. At some point, the wolves realized that humans left behind scraps of food, so they started hanging around. Eventually, some wolves became friendly. Humans figured out that having a wolf buddy was pretty useful. They could help with hunting and protection. Over time, those wolves evolved into dogs. Her skin shimmered with fascination. Your people tamed wild predators? On purpose? Yep. We like a challenge, he said with a grin. And it worked out pretty well. Dogs are more than just pets. They're family. They love us unconditionally, protect us, and keep us company. It's a partnership. She considered this. Her species had no such partnerships with animals. The wildlife on her planet was either too skittish or too dangerous. The idea of befriending a predator was almost absurd. And yet, here stood proof. As they continued walking, Rex bounded off the path to chase something rustling in the bushes. The alien girl froze, her skin flashing yellow. He's hunting. Nah, just chasing a bug or something, the human said, unbothered. Rex loves chasing stuff. It's one of his hobbies. Hobbies? She struggled to comprehend the idea. Your species gives hobbies to beasts? Sure, he said. Chasing, fetching, chewing on random sticks. It keeps him happy. You should try it sometime. I will not chase sticks, she said firmly. The human laughed, a sound she was starting to find oddly comforting. Fair enough. But you should learn how to read Rex's body language. It'll help you understand him better. He knelt and motioned for her to do the same. Reluctantly, she approached, keeping a safe distance. See the way his tail is wagging right now? That means he's happy. It looks like he's preparing to strike, she muttered. No. Wagging tail equals good mood. Ears up and alert? He's curious. If he lowers his ears and tucks his tail, that means he's scared or unsure. She tried to absorb the information, though it felt like deciphering a foreign language. And the panting? Panting is just how dogs cool down. Or sometimes it means they're excited. Rex pants a lot because he's easily excited. Rex barked, his whole body vibrating with enthusiasm. The alien girl flinched, but didn't retreat. Your creature seems overly enthusiastic. He's just got a lot of love to give, the human said, tossing a small treat toward Rex. The dog caught it midair with a snap and wagged harder. Want to give it a try? Her skin flashed uncertain yellow. Give it a try. Feeding him. It's a good way to build trust. He held out a small treat. The alien girl eyed it suspiciously. If I hold this, he will not attack. Promise. Just hold it out flat in your hand, and he'll take it gently. After a long moment of hesitation, she reached out with a trembling hand. The treat felt strange against her webbed fingers, dry and crumbly. Rex's eyes locked onto the prize, but he didn't move until the human gave a soft command. Go ahead, boy. The dog stepped forward, sniffed her hand, and took the treat with surprising delicacy. His warm breath tickled her skin, but he didn't bite or snap. Her skin shifted to a cautious blue. He did not devour me. See? He's a gentleman, the human said proudly. Rex sat back on his haunches, looking at her expectantly. His tail thumped the ground with such force that small clouds of dust puffed up around him. He appears to want more, she observed. Yep, dogs are eternally hopeful when it comes to food. She found herself staring at Rex, her fears slowly giving way to curiosity. For all his sharp teeth and powerful build, he had shown nothing but gentleness. Perhaps there was some truth to the human's words. You said dogs protect your kind, she said thoughtfully. From what? Anything really? Other predators, intruders, danger in general. Dogs have saved countless lives. Some are even trained to sniff out explosives or alert humans to medical emergencies. Her eyes widened. They can sense danger before it happens? Pretty much. They're like furry little superheroes. She glanced at Rex, who was now occupied with a stick he had found on the path. He gnawed on it happily, oblivious to their conversation. I do not understand how something so simple can be so valuable. Sometimes the simplest things are the most important, the human said. Dogs don't judge, they don't hold grudges, and they don't ask for much. They just want love, companionship, and maybe a few extra treats. Her skin shifted to a contemplative purple. It seems there is more to your creature than I realized. Definitely, he said, and he's more than happy to show you. You just have to give him a chance. Rex, as if on cue, dropped his stick and trotted over. He sat in front of the alien girl, his gaze steady but friendly. Slowly, she reached out a hand. This time, there was no trembling. Rex leaned into her touch, his fur soft and warm beneath her fingers. A strange sensation bloomed in her chest, something new and unnameable. The human gave a satisfied nod. Told you, he's not a monster, just a big, fuzzy goofball. Her skin glowed a gentle blue-green. Perhaps I was wrong. Glad to hear it, the human said. Ready for another walk? She straightened, her gaze steady. Yes, but if he tries to eat anything strange, I am not responsible. The human grinned. Deal. They continued down the path, the three of them now walking side by side. And though the alien girl's fear had not entirely disappeared, it had been replaced by something far more promising. Trust. The alien girl found herself standing beside Rex with far less trepidation than she ever thought possible. His fur was still a confusing mix of soft and wild, his tongue still far too large for his mouth. But there was a calmness in his presence now. She didn't jump every time he wagged his tail or shifted his weight, and that in itself felt like a victory. See? You're practically a dog whisperer now, the human teased, hands in his pockets as they walked through the grove. I am not whispering, she said with mock seriousness. And if I were, I doubt he would understand me. The human chuckled. That's fair. He's more of a snack motivation kind of listener. Rex, as if to prove the point, trotted over with a hopeful expression and plopped himself down in front of the alien girl. He stared up at her with wide, pleading eyes and gave a soft boof that sounded oddly polite. I believe he is attempting to manipulate me, she said, though there was no fear in her tone. Oh, definitely. He's got the begging thing down to a science. Despite herself, she reached into the human supply pouch and retrieved a small treat. Rex accepted it with his usual gentleness, his tail swishing across the dirt like a broom. The girl's skin flickered a pale green, no longer a color of anxiety, but something closer to amusement. It seems he knows I am weak. Not weak, just susceptible to charm, the human said. Happens to the best of us. They continued their walk, the conversation flowing easily. She asked questions about Earth's history with dogs, and he answered with tales of heroic canines saving lives, finding lost children, and standing guard through the ages. Each story painted a picture of loyalty and courage, and by the time they reached the edge of the grove, her understanding of Rex had deepened. But it wasn't until the incident with the small creature that everything truly changed. It happened in a blur. Rex spotted a rustle in the bushes and bolted before the human could call him back. The alien girl froze, every instinct telling her to flee as well. Predators did not run for no reason on her world, and whatever Rex had seen could be dangerous. The human's voice cut through the rising panic. Rex, stop! But Rex had already charged into the underbrush, barking like a creature possessed. The alien girl's skin turned bright yellow, flashing with fear. What if he's found something dangerous? Not likely, the human said, but he was already moving toward the noise. Stay close. They pushed through the thicket and found Rex standing triumphant over a small, rabbit-like creature. The animal was unharmed but petrified, trembling under Rex's intense stare. Rex, leave it, the human commanded. To the alien girl's surprise, Rex obeyed immediately, stepping back and letting the small creature scamper away. See? No harm done, the human said, though he sounded a little winded. But the alien girl wasn't focused on the creature. She was staring at Rex, her skin slowly shifting back to a neutral blue. He listened? Of course he did. Rex isn't a wild beast. He's trained to follow orders. Rex padded over to her, his ears low and his eyes apologetic. He nudged her hand with his nose, and for the first time, she understood what he was trying to say. He is sorry, she said softly. Dogs don't hold grudges, the human explained. If they mess up, they just want to make it right. The alien girl knelt beside Rex, her fingers brushing over his fur. I would have been terrified if he had not stopped, but now I see that he trusted you to keep him safe. And you, the human added. He knows you're part of the team now. Her skin glowed with a soft green hue. A team. Rex leaned into her touch, his massive frame warm and steady. For the first time, the alien girl felt the full weight of what the human had been saying all along. Trust was a two-way bond. Later that evening, they returned to the outpost. The stars were beginning to dot the sky, and the air had taken on a crisp, peaceful quality. The human lit a small campfire, and the three of them sat in comfortable silence. Back home, we have a tradition for those we trust, the alien girl said suddenly, breaking the quiet. She reached into the small pouch she always carried and pulled out a delicate, hand-woven band made of bioluminescent fibers. It is given to those who are considered protectors. The human raised an eyebrow. You want me to wear it? Not you, she said, smiling for the first time. She leaned forward and carefully tied the band around Rex's neck, just above his collar. The fibers glowed faintly against his dark fur, a gentle pulse of light with each of his breaths. This is for him. Rex sniffed at the band, then licked her hand with a surprising amount of slobber. He accepts your gift, the human said with a grin. Probably the highest honor in dog culture. I did not know friendship could be so messy, she said, wiping her hand on her tunic. Welcome to life with dogs, he replied. They sat together for a long time, watching the stars and listening to the crackle of the fire. The alien girl no longer felt out of place or afraid. Rex had taught her something she hadn't expected to learn, a lesson in trust, patience, and the surprising connections that could form between different worlds. As Rex curled up beside her, his head resting against her leg, she felt a strange warmth in her chest. Perhaps, she thought, not all monsters were what they seemed.